Hello, everybody. It's James. I have another one of these again on MH370. I've been working. I guess it's been just right about 2 weeks since I filmed my last one on the subject, and as soon as I filmed it, I just kind of went back to working on where I was, and so it's kind of evolved a little bit. Um, Back to drawing maps here. This is um, kind of where I started 2 weeks ago. I was interested in the pieces. This is a map that I drew here, Kuala Lumpur here, um, and just reading an article. Somebody said that a part was found on Reunion Island, and they described it as 2,500 miles west of Kuala Lumpur. So I just simply, drew this little map here, and then I started researching Reunion. I think this is another island here, um, and so on. There was another part that was found over here on uh, Antasaraka Peninsula, South Beach in Madagascar. So this was like where um, the first piece was found, which was flaperon, um, uh, um, which I kind of know more as a high-speed aileron just from videos that I've watched. But I guess they work also as flaps, so they're considered flaperons. But it's just a very small section of flap, kind of between the main flaps and the ailerons. Um, and over here was uh, this was the newest piece found, which was a gear door trunnion portion of I think it was the right main gear. Um, and Anyway, this one was found by somebody that didn't recognize it as a part from this particular airplane, I guess, and just was a fisherman that put it in his yard. And then sometime later, it was kind of added to um, the group of found objects, and so on. There's other parts too. There was at least one part that was found on the east coast of Africa somewhere that is sort of unidentified, other than it says no step or something like that. And I guess there's talk that it could either be from like horizontal stabilizer or it could be wing. Um, but I've been focusing mainly on first on the wreckage parts, and then I kind of shifted to researching witness accounts. What is this here? This is, I mentioned this. So somebody said it's just 2,500 miles west of Reunion. Well, I looked at another map of it, and it actually shows that this is like the equator here. The Kuala Lumpur is just slightly above the equator, and this section is Madagascar, where the part was found, is considerably lower than the equator. So it's not exactly east-west between these two places. It's more like a southwest northeast vector. So anyway, remember what this one is. That there's talk about that the radar ended here. The flight took off at Kuala Lumpur, and it started to kind of head off towards Beijing like per plan, and it went off into the Ho Chi Minh airspace, Vietnamese airspace, and um, just right at the transition into that airspace, it just disappeared. And the initial search was in the South China Sea. The, this flight took off on March 8th. It was disclosed on TV to the public that that the military radar picked up the flight going way out here. So for the difference in days between March 8th and March 12th, it was I guess no, there wasn't any talk about it doing this kind of U-turn thing. So the initial search was in the South China Sea, and then they kind of really started to change their story to the flight kind of somehow went on down here, and so on. This is kind of where where they say that radar contact was lost. That military radar contact was lost. So it took off here at 12:41 or so in the morning, just after midnight, came up over here, and then at 2:22 a.m. local time is when the military radar couldn't find it anymore. Then there's talk about it that there's information about that it went on quite a distance for like another hour, and then it did like this holding pattern somewhere, and so on. And I was reading about that just today. I was just really focused on the holding pattern, and I plan to get back to that tomorrow, and so on. And I guess somehow that holding pattern was discovered through some retired 777 captain that I think he was involved with this, and there's like amateur radio signals that somehow can pick up things when they're happening and even after the fact. And through this weak signal propagation report, they somehow have this information that the plane made the holding pattern for 22 minutes. It did kind of like a racetrack holding pattern, and then there's kind of speculation that then it kind of continued way down south into the South China Sea, kind of off the west coast of Australia, I guess. And that's really, people are talking about that, but I'm not really seeing how they get that, that track. Other than kind of this, which I don't really understand, this weak signal propagation report from amateur radio trails. But this holding pattern is at 33 south, 95.9 east. If that's even enough information to kind of pinpoint that spot, it seems like it's missing some coordinate information there. But I'm not really working on that right now. So that's about all I have on it this week. Reported sightings. That's what I was kind of working on like 3 or 4 days ago. Maybe just before the weekend, especially. And then I kind of shifted to this holding pattern and the track that it made down south that some people are saying. But This is a map of the Strait of Malacca. There's Malaysia and Singapore down here, and there's a water body straight there. And there was an Indonesian fisherman that said he actually saw the aircraft crash in the Strait of Malacca, and so on. Yeah, there was this. This is kind of last first. This one is kind of vague from less vague, I guess. This British lady said it was 3 months later. I guess she was just out in a sailboat by herself and sort of came in 3 months later and said that she saw an aircraft on fire somewhere in the south, in the Indian Ocean. Just, I didn't say South Indian Ocean, just in the Indian Ocean somewhere. So this is like Australia. Here's a Strait of Malacca that I was just talking about. Malaysia, where it took off. Kuala Lumpur here. And this is like Africa here. This parts were like found like over here. The person that said that it was on fire is like over here somewhere. So there were some other ones too. The less big here. This was somebody was on an oil rig. This was southern Vietnam. This Vung Tau. They said basically 186 miles southeast of Ventugas was an oil rig, and an oil rig worker said he saw a burning object in the sky that morning. I think this one is kind of the one that's kind of the weirdest, less fitting because of, like if I can find something that has Vietnam on it. Like here's Vietnam here, and it was southeast of Vietnam. So that would be like over here in this picture. Just forget about that one. But it's like here's the track where it went, and they're saying that that they saw it on fire over here or something like that, which doesn't really make too much sense. There was another one that was like right in that track. Was it this one? I can't find it. Yeah, here's that track again. Here's Kuala Lumpur. The airplane, here's that trail. It went up here, went kind of into Ho Chi Minh, Vietnamese airspace. And then instead of going on, it did this U-turn, and it came back to this Po Dung thing. And then this is where the military radar contact was lost. There was another thing that I read or heard somewhere along the line that one of the two pilots of this flight lived, I think, either here or somewhere, or maybe where the holding pattern is, and that holding pattern was like right over his house almost, almost like he was like just circling around looking at his house or something like that. But I don't know exactly what they said, so I'm trying to get back to that. But anyway, back to this story here. It took off Kuala Lumpur, went up to this, change of airspace. This is like Vietnamese airspace, right where the curve here went. And then it kind of went down here into here. But this point right here is where a fisherman reported low-flying aircraft off the coast. So this is like near the coast. So he's looking off the coast here. I mean, it's just right on this thing. The guy reported low-flying aircraft. So maybe that's why the radar lost. The civilian radar dropped him because he got too low or something like that. And maybe the military radar still picked it up even though it was low. You'd think the military people would know what the altitude was from the radar, but I don't know. Anyway, just thought I'd kind of share, what I've been working on. I don't know exactly where I'm going with this. Oh, I forgot my red beanie hat here. I got my black one here, but I guess I'm not Cousteau this time. Anyway, please thumbs up and like it and subscribe and so on. I'm trying to kind of do something useful here. So it seems like maybe things will start to generate where my information is much more refined and processed than any other information, and maybe it'll lead to finding this aircraft. I was going to show you. I've been reading this book on. I just browse the library occasionally to see if there's anything interesting to read, and I found this on flights of no return, and this has a good thing on some interesting flights. A congressman flight in the Alaska area. He took off from Anchorage, going kind of into Canada, and disappeared years ago, and still is missing. I was reading about Steve Fawcett, which I guess they found his plane, but there's really kind of, it's still a puzzle. Let's see, there was another missing flight in here. There's one that went from Paris to New York. It was kind of before Charles Lindbergh, I think, just slightly, and was going to be a record. And that one is still lost. They think it might even be on land, kind of in Maine, like Western Maine or something like that. But anyway, more on those later. That's it for this time. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. So long.